a left-leaning individual over the fact that I firmly believe this, that in the region of the world where Palestine is, it was actually better under British colonialism. And the reason that the left-leaning gentleman was upset is that he couldn't find any counter arguments. And I generally encourage anyone that has any counter arguments to explain to me if you wouldn't rather live in this area or would you rather live in modern day Palestine. Because I just think like, okay, so obviously living under occupation is not desirable. Like most human beings don't like it. I understand that. But if you're a person that gets to be isekai, like you're reincarnated, and you get to choose whether or not you want to live in Palestine today or you want to live under Palestine under the British occupation, what choice would you make? And the reality over this particular region of the world is not the current conflict, because a lot of people will say, well, yeah, but like the current conflict. No, no, no. This has been a very, how should I put it? A very kinetic place. Since before I was born, it has been kinetic while I'm alive, and it will most likely be kinetic after I'm dead. The people there are unable to put aside their differences, and I do think, like, obviously a lot of it is religious, right? Religious reason, ethical, what have you. So literally, like, the only way that you can get individuals to live together if it's someone stronger, in this case the British Empire, coming over there and saying enough, and then putting on policies that just prevents people from doing whatever they want and murdering each other. I generally think, obviously it's not going to happen, right? But when you present this to a left-leaning person and you say, look, colonialism saved lives. I mean, there were less people that were dying there then than there are now. And not only that, but like, even living under colonial occupation, the life of the average citizen was vastly better than it is living now. So this upsets left-leaning people because they do not have the arguments. And I'm willing to be persuaded, because this is not like me doing a scientific experiment and coming to this irrefutable conclusion. Like, I do not have the science. I'm just like looking at history, and this is the conclusion that I arrived. I'm willing to change my mind. I'm willing to say, well, actually, hold on, it wasn't like that. But yeah, it's kind of like having children that can't share a toy, literally. Like someone in the chat said that when you have that, like, what can you do? Another way, like, and by the way, here's also what I find interesting. If you have like left-leaning people, and the only reason they disagree with this, I believe, is due to the fact that they're ingrained with the matter colonialism bad. And obviously colonialism is bad, right? Like, we don't do that anymore. At least the nations that do some form of modern colonialism, like, they would never admit to this, right? Like, it's kind of like universally viewed as a horrible thing. But, like, if you were to have a benevolent alien race, let's put it like that, right? And they arrive on Earth. I think there was even a movie based on it. And they just, like, use their alien technology, which looks like magic to us, in order to shut down every single military equipment. Like, tanks don't work, weapons don't fire, right? And the aliens come here and they institute... even if they were to actually institute a form of apartheid, right? Like, for example, they would put a force field around Ukraine and Russia, and it would be like, okay, well, you're not allowed to go on each other's place anymore. Like, you're not allowed. Clearly, the conflict is as such of nature that you can't live together. Blah blah blah. So like, the aliens would just dictate where the borders are. They would dictate how people are allowed to interact with each other. I am willing to bet that left-leaning people would salivate over this. Like, they would absolutely love this, and they would be like, yes, finally we are becoming civilized. We need to bring back colonial and empires. No, it's not like District 9. Because District 9 was like a spaceship of aliens that fell on Earth. And, they landed in South Africa, and the people there started oppressing them. No, it's not like District 9. It was another movie. I forgot the name of it. But basically, like, aliens come on Earth, and they shut down all of humanity's technologies, like planes. Just, they are forced to stop in the sky, and they are slowly landed. Military technology just doesn't function anymore. And then they start like improving people's lives. So they start by stopping all types of wars. And then they introduce new medical technologies. They introduce like stuff that benefits humanity. And apparently one day they prevent humans from having kids, right? So like complete genocide of humanity. And this is like after, I think it's like 100 years or so after they first landed, right? They basically say that from this point forward, humans can't reproduce anymore. And the whole thing was that they were having like these genetical experiments on people to make like the smartest children ever. And the smartest children were they're cold. And you find out that there was like this intergalactic hive mind that would do this to various civilizations. So like once a civilization reached a specific level of development, they would take like the smartest generation, like they would call the smartest generation from that planet, and they would be integrated into the hive mind, and that's how the hive mind, I guess, would feed and become smarter. And everyone else, like the elder generation, would just be allowed to die, and that was like the end of that planet. No, it wasn't a Stargate episode. It was an actual movie. But like basically, the left was cheating in that movie as well. Like people that were, against the pollution of the planet. People that were like environmentalists. People that were like pro peace, no borders, blah blah blah. Like they were cheating for the aliens. Now, obviously, that's a movie. But I would definitely see that happening in the real world. Like, if you have, like, this maleficent alien force that uses kindness in order to conquer and to dominate other worlds, like, left-leaning people would lap that shit up. Like, they would literally believe the propaganda. While someone more cynical, like myself, I would just wonder, well, hold on a little bit. Why are they doing this? Like, why are they so kind? What is their actual purpose? What is their goal? Like, no one... it's kind of like... understanding that nothing comes for free, and like there must be like something like, okay, not everything that's being done is necessarily malevolent, but like when you do something out of kindness that requires like a lot of resources being poured in, like even when you look at children hospitals that get hundreds of billions of dollars in order to function, you notice that the people that donate, like, sometimes don't necessarily donate out of charity. I mean, sure, it is the charitable thing, but they may also want to have, like, their status in society being uplifted because, well, they're a philanthropist, so they do good things. They may want tax write-offs, right? So usually, like, it's a lot more deeper than just, like, people wanting to do good stuff for the sake of doing it. Even Christians, like, there are Christians who do good stuff just because they want to go to heaven. So yeah, it's like, if they are making things better, I would take it. But the question is, like, for how long are they making it better? And why are they making it better, right? Because, again, like, people don't really have this, and even I would say, like, aliens, it's... like, no one, like, has this interest in kindness for the sake of kind. Like, people usually want to get something out of it. Even when you give money to a beggar, you want to get the sensation that you did something right. You want to get, the look of gratefulness from that beggar. You want to get that feeling that you did the right thing. So anyway, right. Let's talk about the hospital in Gaza. This is very interesting. How is it pronounced? Because people on my television said they usually say Gaza. And it's like, okay. It's the same with the Ukraine, that they pronounce Kyiv. Kyiv. It's like, what? So there was the problem with the hospital, right? Which actually upset Turkey. Now I will explain a little bit why hospitals are so important. So, you got here the article from, what is this? The DailyMail.cock. Israel was probably not responsible for Gaza hospital blast, U.S. intelligence finds. Right, so how do we verify the people doing the verification? Like, do we go there on the ground? This is why I usually don't talk about conflicts. It's because it's very. I mean, it is called the fog of war, right? Like, there are soldiers there, and they probably do not allow me, if I were to travel there, to go with a smartphone and just record what's going on, right? So, due to that, you gotta trust, I guess, like third party information, like the people on the ground can't verify it. The problem is that if one side claims one thing happened and the other side claims differently, like, who is in the right? Now, usually the answer is that in every conflict, in every war, there is your guys and their guys. Now your guys may not necessarily be fighting there, but the propaganda war is being waged outside of that country's sphere of influence. So in this case, if you happen to live, let's say, in Romania, Romania is a nation that's part of NATO, so we are sympathetic to Israel based on military alliance with the United States, and Israel is the United States' closest ally, I've been told, making Romania a little bit jealous, but, right? And due to that, people are more likely to believe, well, actually, it's not that they're more likely, they are being encouraged to believe whatever Israel is saying. And we get to see the European Union advocating for more censorship, advocating for stricter control of social media. This is basically what they want to do. Like, it's not that they want the correct information, because the mainstream media has also misinformed, but they don't care about that because they know most people are on the internet right now. So, like, they want their side of the information to be dominant, right? The same thing with Ukraine. Like, Russia today is banned in the European Union and many other countries, and Russian propaganda evil. However, the ghost of Kiev was on the television, and we were told about the ace fighter pilot, the ghost of Kiev, which turned out not to be correct. There was the shelling of the Snake Island, where apparently a person refused to surrender and said that he insulted the naval ship that was attacking them and then died under fire. That also turned out to be propaganda. And again, like, these things were displayed on television, mainstream news, mainstream newspapers. Now again, that doesn't mean that the newspapers are maleficent or they try necessarily to misinform. It's simply due to the fact that there is a fog of war, and this is the information they have from the ground, from their sources. Sometimes it may not be correct, and it gets fact-checked. However, this is what every single conflict throughout human history looked like your side versus their side. Now, if you happen to live in Russia, you hear a completely different side of the events. People will be sympathetic to Gaza. You're going to have news that's coming up and is saying Ukraine bad, right? So my point is that there is no way to fact check it, right? Like, unless you go there on the ground, like for example, and I am being presented with a picture of a hospital parking lot and cars are burning. Okay, fine. Do I know that this is the actual hospital in question? Do I know? I mean, even if I were to know that this is like a picture from today, and this is recent, do I know if this is like legitimately the hospital we're talking about? Do I know that? Right, actually, the previous question also makes sense. Like, do I know that this is recent? Like, it could be from 5 months before, it could be from 3 years before. You don't know, right? Like, you as a citizen, you're reading the news, you're shown a picture. And the New York Times have done this many times. Apparently, like, they're under fire right now for talking. I think it was like civilians that died in Israel, and they show like kids from Gaza. It's like, it's kind of this thing, like the thumbnail, the images that are being shown. The European Union complains about the social media, but the mainstream media has been doing this for years. I mean, their interest is to get clicks. It's not to like help with the war effort. Their interest is to create outrage, to get people to click on their website. And it's also like, who pays them? right? Like, this is another thing. I have a person, a friend of mine, and what he does is he advises politicians, right? He advises politicians on current events. It's called operating a think tank. So my friend basically was asked at one point, it's like, why should I hire you when I can just read the news? And he said, well, because you're paying me to provide you with information. So I will do my best in order to give you the most accurate information. When you read the news, take into account that someone else is paying the news. So someone else is paying the news to give you the information that they want you to have. And that's when he got hired, because it was a very compelling argument. And it makes sense, right? Like, if I were to pay the mainstream media, then I have certain interests, and my interests are like, okay, well, I'm paying you in order for you to inform people the way I want, right? Like, if I'm Microsoft and I'm paying the media, I don't want the media to say how Microsoft stocks are going down, how Microsoft is mistreating employees. It makes sense. Assume everything from the mainstream media is a lie. No, it's more like it's not necessarily a lie. The problem with the mainstream media is the stuff that they're not telling you. Like, there's a lot of stuff on the mainstream media that's being omitted. So that is like the most difficult thing. And then it's also sometimes, yes, they can lie, and you have to like use common sense and context. Like, for instance, when the media is saying in this situation, right? The hospital has been bombed. And I'm like, I mean, it's plausible, but like, how can I know? Well, here's a picture of the hospital being bombed. And I'm like, okay, but like, do I know this hospital? Have I ever seen it before in my life? No, but it's from Gaza. It's like, okay, it is from Gaza, but like, is it from this conflict? Is it AI generated? Right? So you gotta put your trust that the people at the mainstream media have done their due diligence, and then they have fact-checked it. But even then, you have to wonder, okay, so who is this? CNN? Does CNN, like, have reporters on the ground in Gaza? No, they don't. So how can they know? Do they have satellite imagery? Do they have anything, right? So that is the problem. It's like, how do you fact-check the fact-checkers? I mean, if you think this is ridiculous, remind yourself that in the Canadian government, which is, I guess, like, the top of the pyramid of the fact-checkers, they applauded. They gave a standing ovation for a Nazi. Sorry, not a Nazi, an SS soldier, right? I mean, they make mistakes too. So when it's a conflict, when it's about actual warfare, the reason they say truth is the first to die is because you literally don't know. Usually, like, these things come out after the conflict. Now, the reason that bombing a hospital is a big deal, I have seen people on, I have seen people in the mainstream media, sorry, not in the mainstream media, on social media that genuinely pretend not to understand. And here's the reality of it, all right? When you read history about the colonialist era of the United States, you understand why the Europeans and the natives had some disagreements. And it wasn't always just because my land, your land, okay? Because the conquering of land was something that was happening in America before the Europeans came to the party. I mean, they had empires as well. They had the Aztec Empire, they had the Mayan Empire. Like, the idea of one tribe conquering other and taking the land, I mean, that was, right? And it doesn't mean like, oh, well, the native land. Because, again, like, the natives were separated in different factions and beliefs and ethnicities, and just because, like, you took the land of one native, that doesn't mean that all the natives are going to automatically hate you. In fact, like, some natives may actually be happy that you took that land because they were in conflict with the previous tribe, right? So that wasn't, like, necessarily what sparked animosity between the Europeans and the natives. What sparked the most animosity was the way that warfare was conducted. So the warfare in Europe was conducted in a way that we Europeans consider to be more civilized. Of course, you know, saying that war is civilized is a huge stretch of the imagination. No human conflict is, and with that out of the way, the way that Europeans were conducting it was still more acceptable. So, like, at the time, it was two enemy states want to fight conflict. They get their armies, they meet on the field of battle. One army routs the other. Maybe it can even lead to the sacking of a city. Of course, rape and plunder, sure. But, like, that was the way Europeans conducted warfare. Still a grisly affair. I mean, don't get me wrong. Horrible. But that is the way the Europeans conducted it, right? Like, formal declaration of war, we're coming for you. And then you raise your army, you meet them on the battlefield. Now, in the case of the Americans, right, and by the Americans I mean the indigenous people, the way that warfare was conducted was during the middle of the night. One tribe could get into another tribe's territory. They go into the huts. They slit the throats of everyone that is there before the other people can even get a chance in order to respond. Most of their population has been decimated. The survivors are being taken as prisoners of war, human sacrifices, slaves. Right? I mean, the way that warfare was conducted was significantly different. And when it happens to a European settlement, this shocks the Europeans. Right? I imagine, like, all of a sudden you don't get any news from a settlement. And when you go there, everyone is butchered and killed. Women and children and stuff. So again, like, Europeans understood battle. They understood conflict. But like, that was a little bit too scary for them, right? So it was like, this is when they start having the debate, and this was actually a debate at the time, where the Pope had to weigh in. It's like, whether or not do natives have souls? Eventually, it was decreed that they do, right? Because it was a question like, can we even spread Christianity in America, right? But like, it was due to this. Like, the way they conducted warfare was so different and so shocking that the question was like, okay, well, like, do they have souls? So this is why, right? Like when we talk about this, and I think, like, most people who talk about this, they do appreciate it in a way that it's kind of like, not necessarily like you're proud to be a European, but like, you're like, okay, well, it's more civilized, right? Like, the way the Europeans conducted battle is more civilized, they would say. And that passed on today, right? Like Tariq says that Muslims have a code of conduct to war. And they do, but like, the reason that we decided that hospitals are off limits is because we tried to conduct war, even when fighting against people that abduct children and they parade the corpses of people on the street. Even then, we do conduct war in a way that we consider it to be as humane as possible. Again, it's never going to be humane because it's war. But still, like, we try to make sure that the way we conduct it is in a way that is not, like, go in the middle of the night, kill them all type of thing. So hospitals are marked as safe zones. The reason they're marked as safe zone is because if someone can't evacuate in time, and they can't manage to, flee their house in time for various reasons, maybe they're old, maybe they decrepit, maybe they have various medical conditions, they go to a hospital. So this is why, like, during wartime, a hospital will have like 200 or 300 people inside, because it's considered to be a safe space, right? I'm talking about wars and conflict, American Outlier. I don't know if you will appreciate the topic. Hospitals are off limits until the enemy uses them for bases. Yes, like, this is the issue that we're going to talk about. What do you do when you fight with an enemy that doesn't reciprocate, right? Because, like, this is the whole issue that's happening here. You can only have these things if the enemy also agrees. And the reason for this is that it's kind of like in World War II, there were ample supplies of mustard gas and other chemical weapons, both in the UK and in Germany. And it was never deployed in combat, as far as I know. I think, like, the Germans didn't deploy it. partially because Hitler was under the effects of it, and he suffered in the trenches. He actually got hit with it, so it was never something that was employed, but like it wasn't a written agreement. Like it wasn't like we have today where chemical weapons are banned. It was just like the reason that they didn't use it wasn't necessarily because of humanitarian reasons or what I mentioned previously. It's like Hitler got to inhale it. It was just, if we use it, they will use it against us. Right? So like the whole idea was, we treat you in a way that we want to be treated. And there were like many other code of conduct and ways to conduct warfare, which was like, we don't do this to you, you don't do this to us. And it was kind of understandable that if we are ever going to do this to you, you are going to do it to us. The perfect analogy for this, and I talked about it on another live stream, was when a pilot parachuted from a jet. No one would shoot at the parachute, right? Because the idea was like the pilot is going to arrive on the ground and he's going to be arrested by the forces there. That changes when the Luftwaffe goes and fights the war in Russia. And when they fight the war in Russia, they notice that the Russians don't reciprocate. Like, they were shooting down pilots that were parachuting. And due to that, they start shooting their pilots as well. Another interesting thing, and this like shows exactly what we're talking about here, is like what happens when you don't follow the code of war. The SS in the German division, like if you watch the certain American movies, I think the one with the tank, what is it called? Like Tiger? I think it's called Tiger. Might be wrong. But like, well, some of these movies actually depict historical events and facts. Like when the Americans came into Europe, they would take prisoners, members of the German army, the Wehrmacht, but often they would just shoot members of the SS, even if they surrendered. So why was this? Well, it's because the SS was fighting on the Eastern Front, and some of them were recalled to fight on the West Front, and they were absolutely brutal. Because like on the East Front, they were exposed to a level of combat that had no restrictions, that was completely inhumane. And when they came to the West, they would apply the same tactics here, to the point where the Americans were horrified. And it's like, okay, well, if we're going to behave like that, we're going to treat you the way you're behaving, but we're going to treat the other German soldiers, like the Wehrmacht, we're going to treat them as actual combatants. We're not going to treat you as actual combatants because you're not behaving like actual combatants. So, yeah, Fury it was called. This literally shows how combat is being performed, right? Like, if you want the enemy to respect you, you have to behave in a way that shows you're worthy of respect, right? Like, you have to conduct yourself with respect. And, yeah, it is an interesting question. Like, what do you do when the enemy, like, were to use hospitals and schools and other places as base of operations? And the answer is very complex, because it's not your side versus the enemy. It's your side versus the international community, right? So the international community, which are the nations that are neighboring Israel, they use Palestinians, in my opinion, as a bargaining chip. Because one of the reasons that no nation wants to take in Palestinians, and this is like my belief, it's not necessarily the thing, but like you'll notice that Egypt don't want them. None of the other nations. Iran doesn't want them, right? So, like, why don't they want them? Well, they don't want them because they want Palestinians to be an inconvenience for Israel. And every single time Israel tries to do something about it, they want to have a reason in order to complain and to impose sanctions and to have justifications for other measures. So that's what's pretty much happening, right? Like, okay, well, what do you do if the enemy uses a hospital in order to attack it from it? Well, none of the nations in the area will recognize that this is the case. Like, all of them will say that it's not happening. And if you actually do something about it, all the other nations is going to say that you're a war criminal. So, like, yeah, I mean, you're in an unwinnable position. Honestly, if it wasn't for the Iron Dome, Israel would have been in huge hot water. Because like those missiles, those firecrackers, guys, at the end of the day, they don't do much damage, which is what a lot of people who are now like even the international community is pretty much accepting the fact that that hospital may have actually been a Hamas missile that exploded. Is due to the damage that it did. Like an Israeli missile would have done a far more significant and catastrophic damage to the area. Yeah, like what do you do in that situation? If the Iron Dome wasn't a thing, like those rockets would have definitely caused a lot of terror in the civilian population. Like imagine living there and knowing that at any point a rocket could just blow your house. You have a normal life, you send your kids to school, you're coming home from school, you're sitting at it, and boom. Like, so yeah, like the Iron Dome has definitely destroyed a lot of the grift that is happening, and that's why they can just take it and be like, all right, well, even though like it's not financially feasible. Like one of those rockets, I don't know how much it costs. Maybe like $30,000 to make one, but like a rocket from the Iron Dome is over 100,000. So the international community sounds a lot like a global audience. What the fuck is an international community? Is the nations around you, like your government? It wants to conduct trade, it wants to conduct business. It wants to use the land of the nations around. And if those nations happen to be hostile or happen to be even antagonistic towards you, well, it's very difficult. Right? It's very difficult then to conduct business, to have your trade routes, to... Yeah, the international community is a real thing. I know that for the Americans, it's a concept that they don't really understand because, you have like a country that's surrounded by an ocean. So you don't really care what Mexico or Canada has to say. But for other nations in other parts of the world, what the international community has to say is very important. Actually, the Americans do care about the international community as well to a certain degree. I mean, this is why you care about Taiwan. This is why... America is part of the international community, actually. Hold on. Like, what am I talking about? The whole thing where... whenever there's elections in European countries, like you have American referees that are going there to make sure that the elections are happening properly. Like the Americans there are the international community. Almost 10,000 rockets over the last few weeks shot at Israel, all of them with no targeting system. Imagine if Israel was to shoot just one rocket without a targeting system, just one. I mean, take into account that Gaza is one of the most densely populated regions of the world. I mean, no matter what you hit, you're going to hit something. And we don't care what Europe has to say either. That's not necessarily true. I mean, this is why you guys didn't like the fact that Germany and Russia were having a pipeline together. America is vastly involved into European affairs, and the reason is because Europe has the potential of, in the future, becoming a rival to the United States. So the United States wants to use Europe, first of all, as a trading partner. You want us to buy your shit. And secondly, you're using Europe in order to make sure that it's an ally. And not to have various factions, like Germany, for instance, rising to power again and becoming a rival. Like Germany, during World War II, was a rival to the United States. In fact, there were many companies in the US that didn't want to go to war with Europe, specifically due to the fact that they had a lot of money and assets in Germany. And take into account that the way the Americans are going, like you guys definitely are the hegemon right now, but 10 more years of Bidenomics? I don't know. I don't know, like because I definitely see the living standard of the average American dropping dramatically under the current regime, which a lot of people call it the Obama regime. Would be interesting if that's the case. But yeah, so you know, like nothing lasts forever. No, people call it the American Empire, or they call it an expansion of the British Empire, which is true to some degree. But like nothing lasts forever. Like at one point, America is not going to be number one. I hope this is not going to happen in my lifetime, because the scary thing is like if America is the number one, then that means someone else is going to be number one. So who is that going to be? Is it going to be China? Is it going to be the European Union? Right? Like, the Muslim community doesn't care when China puts all those Uyghur Muslims in camps. Yeah, because okay, so the reason the Muslim community doesn't really care about the Uyghur population is that number one, they have economic dealings with China, like they want to be friendly with China. Number two, is it happening in a different area of the world where they don't even have influence there? Like take into account that in every conflict, you have the things that you say to the soldiers and the people, and then you have like realpolitik, like the actual shit that's happening behind closed doors. And the perfect example of this is World War II. Like, the real reason that the Nazis went into Poland was due to the fact that they believed that Eastern Europe is what's giving food to Germany. And it was true. Like, most of the agriculture back then was happening in Eastern Europe. And they noticed that Western Europe, like France and Britain, aren't necessarily very friendly to Germany. And they were like, okay, so the current situation is that Ukraine, Romania, and all these other Eastern nations, they're giving us food, they're giving us lumber, they're giving us coal, they're giving us oil. And in exchange, we're giving them furniture, we're giving them cars, right? So, like, we are the industry. Like, we industrialized, and because of that, we can't be as efficient at growing crops. So what we're going to do is we're taking crops and we're taking food from Eastern Europe, and in exchange, we're giving them goods that are already developed. But what happens when this trade goes on for a long time and then Eastern Europe starts developing? Like, what if Eastern Europe becomes prosperous? What if they start having their own cars and their own furniture, and they're not only just competing with us, but they're not interested in selling us grain anymore? What if they're interested in doing more business with England and France? So as you can notice, like, the actual discussion is not about race. It's not about, you know, the political ideology. It's just like pure, cold, calculated economics, which is not really even good economics, because that's not what happened. But that's why they were talking behind closed doors. Now, what they told to the people is that, oh, the Polish people are subjugating the German minorities, so we need to liberate Poland we need to liberate those German minorities by conquering Poland, right? So you notice that there is a huge difference between, in any military conflict, the actual reason for the conflict, which 99% of the time has been economic in nature, and the difference between what they tell to the people. And it's the same thing with Israel, right? Like, there is a difference between what the Muslim states genuinely want to accomplish and what they genuinely believe. And I do think it's like weakening America's influence in the region, forcing America to the bargaining table, that type of thing. Sometimes you may even have a certain warlord or like terrorist groups that just want to ascend power and maintain power, and they have to show why the public should support them. So, like, being against Israel is what they're planning to achieve. But, like, that's the real reason. And then they have, like, the thing that they tell to the public. It's like, oh, the people in Gaza are being oppressed and blah, blah, blah. But no one takes them in, right? That's why I do not believe that this is, like, a legitimate reason of concern. Right, so in the case of the hospital, nobody really knew up until now. I mean, the international community seems to now accept the fact that Hamas has had a misfire, and it was in the hospital parking lot. Apparently, if this is the case, then The number of casualties wasn't what was initially reported. But Turkey apparently was really upset about this. The Sultan Erdogan, he actually said something interesting. Hold on. Israel tells citizens to leave Turkey. Like this actually made people believe that we're heading to World War III. I do not believe that this situation at this point is going to escalate into World War III because Israel has attacked. I believe I read it in the news, but it was certain Hezbollah points in Lebanon, right? It's where they were launching missiles from, and like that. If that's the case, that would be like the international version of "fuck your mother," and if that didn't escalate, then nothing will. So I do believe that no, this is not going to lead to anything. But why was Israeli then telling its citizens to leave Turkey, right? And I do believe that the main reason for this wasn't that Turkey is going to do anything, but take into account that in every country, like, the government doesn't fully control the citizens. So, like, they were worried about the citizens of Turkey acting, without the blessing of their government, basically. Which apparently they did. Like, they laid siege to the Israeli embassy in Turkey. Like, they were protesting around it, and they were firing, what was it? They were firing, not firecrackers. Like those tiny rockets that you get on the 4th of July. Fireworks. Holy shit. I don't know what's up with me. I'm a little bit tired right now. My God. But yeah, they were launching fireworks at the embassy and stuff. And it's pretty much like why you get this type of thing. Like, take into account that governments will issue these warnings for their citizens. Especially like if you're a big government on a regular basis. It's kind of like when they're aware that the international community is having like a interesting opinion which may hurt the people in there. Like, for instance, if you right, like let's say that China actually does this. Like, China actually did say, if you travel to London, avoid like certain areas and shit. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that a conflict is brewing, right? It doesn't mean that the government wants to do something. It's just like they're saying, yeah, there's tensions in the area, and it may not be a good time to travel right now. I appreciate you too, Emerald Wolf. Thank you. Roman candles, is that what they're called now? We did talk about the thumbnail. What on earth? Aren't we talking about the thumbnail right now? Huh? I think we talked a little bit about the thumbnail. Why are people being so dispersive of the thumbnail? Thumbnail was important. Anyway, we're discussing with Sargon of Akkad right now that he wants to make another Dungeons and Dragons campaign. And I don't know if I can actually join it, because I'm making like 5 YouTube videos a day, like 2 on my main channel, 2 on my entertainment channel, and the live stream. And on top of that, I also have to make my video game, so I may not have the time. But I'm being pressured, so we'll see. I mean, I really would want to join it, but like, maybe after I finish my video game, I'll have more time for it, and then I would actually have fun. Because right now I'm also like really stressed with everything. So I mean, I had like last time I checked, like there's so much dialogue that I wrote for my video game that it literally takes a lot out of you on the creative level. Turkey has a border with Iran. 100% Iran has people in Turkey that can cause problems. Yeah, like usually it's kind of like that. Like it's not necessarily that they believe Turkey is going to start a war, and usually like when that happens, the citizens of that are part of that military get persecuted, right? No, that's not what it is. It's pretty much like they're noticing that the tensions in the region are high, so they're advising people not to travel there. I don't think like Turkey has an economic interest though. Like you need to look at the economic advantage and interest. Like Turkey has more of an interest in being in NATO, having a trade partner with the United States, with the European Union. Like if Turkey was to start something, like it would immediately like get itself hostile with NATO. Even though it's a member state, it would definitely be excluded from the alliance. It would get itself into hot water with the European Union. It would get itself, and like who would its allies be? Well, it would be Iran and Russia. The thing with Russia, the worst damage that the conflict with Ukraine did towards Russia right now is the international reputation. Like literally, no one takes Russia seriously anymore, and it's viewed as Pakistan pretty much. It's like, I mean, Pakistan has nuclear weapons, but they're like a country over there, sure, like sometimes they make certain statements and they're cute and they're nice, but the thing that hurts the most is like allying, right? Because like if you're a nation like Russia, you want allies. And usually the idea is like, oh, well, we're Russia, we're Tsuyoy, we're strong. You ally with us, we protect you. Who's allying with Russia anymore? Like usually when you come from a position of strength, you can get better deals. I mean, look at the real world. Like look at corporations, like phone companies. You want to have a phone subscription? Okay, well, in some countries, they want to see your ID card. They can strong arm you into like, sure, but you need to sign up with us for at least 6 months. They can like have all sorts of terms of service that you don't like. Why can they do this? Well, because they're from a position of strength. They're the corporation, you're the guy. Right? So what's happening with Russia is that they're no longer in a position of strength. They're not the phone company, they're the telegraph. And it's like, okay, well, do you want a telegraph in your house? I mean, I guess it's cute. Like, no, not even BRICS. Like the thing with BRICS is, let me put it this way, right? Like, okay, so like, BRICS wants to have its own currency and shit. If you have like $20, $20, right? It's not a lot of money, but like $20 is something that guarantees you won't starve anywhere on earth. Maybe like North Korea would be, but no, actually probably even in North Korea. Like anywhere on earth, if you are right now and you have like $20, someone will give you food in exchange for those $20. Which currency of BRICS can guarantee you that, right? Like what do we have? Brazil. What does Brazil have? Do they have like the Brazilian pesos? Let me check. Currency. Brazil. Brazilian real. Alright, so they have the real. If you're in Romania and you have like the equivalent of $20, but it's in Brazilian real, people will pee on them. Like no one cares. They use them as toilet paper. You will not be able to. Maybe like you will be able to convert them, but I don't think I ever seen a conversion with the Brazilian real. The same thing with the Indian rupee, the same thing with, like maybe with China's yuan, there are certain places on earth where you can exchange it for food. But my point is to show you the power of the dollar. Like the power of the dollar is that literally anywhere on earth right now you can use dollars and you will not starve. There is no other BRICS country that gives you the same ability. And when you look at BRICS, if you have an alliance that has South Africa in it, that tells me a lot about your alliance. Like you're desperate in order to find people. People say it's like, well, yeah, but like BRICS has like the highest population on earth. Like there's more people living there. Yeah, but quantity versus quality. And when I say quality, I don't mean like the quality of a human being. I mean like the economic power, right? Like how much can you produce? The economic purchase, like how much can you buy? That type of thing. I personally wouldn't be worried about BRICS for the next 40 years or so. Maybe in the future, sure. Maybe in 100 years, BRICS can be an economic powerhouse that rivals the United States. But yeah, Brazil has nuts. BRICS should back crypto. I will tell you something about crypto. Okay, first of all, governments don't want crypto. Governments want to control. The idea that the United States bad, Europe bad, BRICS good is a simple way of viewing things. Like, BRICS has Russia and China. Why the fuck does Russia and China want people to have financial independence? Okay, so that is number one. Number two, even if you look at crypto, it is not a resource that you can use in order to do business. Why? Because it fluctuates too hard. Like right now, I'm making a video game. Right? So I want to know how much money I have coming in every month. And I want to know how much money I have going out. I want to know how much my artist wants per artwork. I want to know how much my animator wants for animation. I need to know these things so that I can do business. Now, if I were to use Bitcoin, and the value of the Bitcoin fluctuates even by 15%, well, that fucks me up really bad, doesn't it? Because now I don't know how much money are coming in. I don't know how much money are going out. I don't know, because like right now I'm thinking, okay, so if I want my game to be out by, I don't know, I'll just say randomly, May next year. Okay, so I want it to come out May next year. I need to know like how the progress needs to be made. How many assets do I need to have per month? How many artworks do I need to have per month? How much I need to write? But like when you don't know any of these things, and now it's like, okay, well, next month I can't afford the assets, I can't afford the artwork because the Bitcoin went down by 20% and all that shit. You can't do business. And I'm a fucking independent guy that's making a video game. Now imagine a corporation the size of Google trying to do business with crypto. The only thing crypto is like allegedly good for is to save money. American Architect. Oh my god, I will have to make sure I don't confuse him with the American Outlier. How many American professions do I have? I hope you can work your schedule to play D&D. Vampires just wasn't the same without you. Well, I appreciate it. I'll do my best. I'll see. I'll work something out. Fiat money fluctuates in value too. Yeah, but not by like so much as Bitcoin. Have you looked at it? Have you looked at Bitcoin and see how much it fluctuates from year after year? Like, try making a 5-year business plan with Bitcoin. It's fucking impossible. The only reason people use Bitcoin is to save money or to hope that, you know, you buy it cheap and you sell it more expensive. I have still not been convinced. I have still not been told why is it not better to buy either property like land or to buy actual gold. Like, no one has come to me and told me it's a bad idea to buy gold. And I'm like, why? Throughout human history, since the beginning, up until now, gold has always had value. Even if it's a war, even if it's a nuclear weapon, no matter what happens, gold always had value. The same with land. Sure, you know, that there are certain events that can happen where the government can take your land. But like, if we go into those apocalyptic scenarios, then they probably will be able to find a way to persecute you out of your Bitcoin as well. Yeah, I mean, unironically, like if you have, let's say a nuclear weapon detonates. If you want those, nightmarish scenarios. Okay, so you have a nuke going off. All the cars don't work. All the electricity is down. Everything. Even if you have Bitcoin, how do you access it? It requires an online connection. Everything is down. Yeah, I mean, but if you have gold, you still have the gold. So, gold is good if you can stop it from getting stolen from you. Like, look. Hello, Billy Oldell. If you have gold and let's say that you got like, if you have a business, like you're a multi-millionaire, then how you store your assets becomes a little bit more difficult. But we're talking about the average guy. How much money does the average guy have? Like how much gold do you actually get in order to say that you're afraid that someone will steal it from you? Just buy a safe in your house and put it in a fucking wall. I mean, if that gets stolen at that point, like, what else can I say? Because again, like, I don't think like people have like millions of dollars worth of savings to the point where, right? Like the average individual, maybe he's got like what, like 300,000, 400,000 worth of savings, and I'm talking about like the average American that is at the retirement age. Usually, it's probably in BlackRock or in some bank account. So like he paid his entire life for a pension. Like, how much? Like 400,000 is already probably a lot, right? But again, like we're talking about old people. Like you're at the age of 65 and you contributed your entire life so that when you're old, you have some saving accounts. How much can you possibly have, right? Like it's not even $1 million. So if you have it in gold, then like what is the problem? Thank you. Yeah. $5 worth of gold is more than a house. Yeah, like it's not like you're the king of some medieval country and you have like the treasury and you open it and you're like Scrooge McDuck. Like we're talking about like some bars of gold, which you can literally just have a safe in your house. You put it in a wall, and there's that. The amount of gold sold is way more than the physical supply. No, but like we're talking about physical supply, and the fact that not many people do this, I genuinely like don't see the problem. Like it's not going to become like everyone is storing gold, because then yeah, sure. I like crypto because the devaluing of the US dollar is hurting, because my artists are international, so the price will fluctuate, affecting me, and don't forget transaction fee when paying as well. It is true that we live in a very interesting economic time. Usually the American dollar doesn't fluctuate like this, but then again, usually you don't have Bidenomics, and usually you don't have the government printing money like fucking crazy. And then lying to the people saying, oh yes, well, the infrastructure bill, it's going to cost $0. It's like, really? What economy class did you finish? But yeah, no, like normally, and not only that, but like the government is lying through their teeth, man. Like there was a TikTok video, came out like last week. It has a guy which actually took a photo of the prices from last year and another photo of the prices from this year. So basically he is comparing prices, right? And inflation is like 20% or something. Prices double. That's what he wanted to say. Like, obviously it differs from industry to industry, but almost universally prices have gone up. And right, like the inflation is a lot more than they're letting on. It's at least double. But like I can also feel it when I go shopping. Like I remember back in the day in Romania, with like $40, I was able to shop for like 2 weeks worth of goods. I don't know how much this translates into Amerikanski, but yeah, like things were cheaper in Romania. And these were groceries, right? And we're talking 2018 era. So in 2018, with $40, I would be able to shop for 2 weeks of goods. Like I would go I would go twice every month for grocery shopping. Now with $40, maybe like a week worth of stuff. Yeah, like a week and a couple of days. And it's going worse. And it's just like the groceries, because like everything went more expensive. For $40, I can buy 6 premium McDonald's burgers. Like, Jesus, hold on a little bit. Like, a McDonald's burger here. So, like, if I want the Big Mac menu, I think it's like maybe like, no, $5? Yeah, it's around 5 or 4. Yeah, like $5 or $4 for like a Big Mac menu with French fries and with Pepsi that's diluted with water. Yeah, it's around 50% increase, double increase on some other products. McDonald's is actually quite cheap. There were some economists that analyzed it, and apparently McDonald's is the cheapest food calorie-wise. So, like the food with the most calories that you can buy for the cheapest amount was McDonald's. I don't know if that actually changed. I do remember like the fun fact that when McDonald's opened in Romania, it was considered a luxurious restaurant because it had American prices and everything else was like Romanian priced. So actually, like taking your date to a McDonald's, like the first one that opened in my city at the time, was incredibly expensive. But now McDonald's is very cheap. Like everyone can go to McDonald's and eat. The problem that I have with McDonald's is that it's not fulfilling. I mean, the food tastes great, right? But you get hungry shortly after. So if I go to McDonald's and I just have like a Big Mac menu, I go hungry in like 2 or 3 hours. Meanwhile, if I go to an actual restaurant and I eat some actual food for the same amount, I'm not hungry for the rest of the day. So that is the problem with McDonald's. It's not that it's expensive, and the ice cream is very good as well. Yeah, I think like at McDonald's, the only thing that I like is the Big Mac and the ice cream. Everything else is the normal hamburger as well. Everything else is just bad. Jeans are considered luxury items in Eastern Europe. Like, are we talking about the 90s? You do realize that my country is actually doing far better than Portugal right now. Like this is what I really enjoy watching this. Like if you look at the economic trends, Romania is actually on the rise, and it's not just Romania, Eastern Europe as well. We're on the rise economically, and most Romanians don't believe it. Like if you tell a Romanian that we're actually doing great, it's like, oh yes, but like people are complaining that they don't have money. And I'm going to make a video on my main channel about this. When a Romanian complains that he doesn't have money, he's basically complaining that he can't go on a vacation. When my mother was complaining that she doesn't have money, she was complaining that she can't pay the electricity bill. She was complaining that she can't put food on the table, right? Meanwhile, people who can't pay for electricity here in my country is at a historical low. 90% of people own their property, like 90% of Romanians have a house that's theirs. And yeah, I mean, compare that to Portugal, where you have a record number of people that don't own property and that they rent and stuff. We used to go to Portugal to pick fruits. Now we go to Portugal to start business there. I mean, I don't know why people still believe that jeans are something that Eastern Europe is being bewildered by. No, having a gas stove is something that Western Europe is being bewildered by. And again, like the reason for this is not due to like Romanians being smarter, more hardworking, more intelligent than Western Europe. No, it's the policy that Western Europe imposed on itself. There was no force that came in and conquered Western Europe. There were no like external factors. No, Germany just flat out decided it wants to go green. And it fucked up its entire economy. And then you had COVID, and they decided that they want to shut down their industry. And then they decided they want to print money, and they caused inflation. Like, I mean, yeah, and now Eastern Europe is doing better. Like, what can I say? I'm sorry. We just weren't that mentally deficient when we considered our external and internal policies. We shut down the economy as well, but it's like, just keep it going. It's shut down. Yeah, it's shut down. Just wear a mask. 1 can of beans, 1 kilogram of potatoes, 30 eggs now cost double if you compare the prices with before the pandemic. Yes, it's horrible. I mean, I'm getting Romanian super chats for fuck's sakes. This was unthinkable in 2018. My countrymen wouldn't be able to afford. And now look, I'm getting Romanian super chats. Things are doing great. I mean, all things considered. There is a war next door. That's not doing great, but still. Portugal youth have been economic migrants for decades. Yeah, like, I'm taking Portugal as an example because it's a nation approximately the same size as Romania, population-wise. They also have access to the ocean. We don't, so... You see the video of Pierre Polivier talking to the journalist while eating the apple is the video that I'm going to make right after this. Like right after we finish talking about this, we're going to talk about Pierre Polivier. It's called having proper common sense in economic planning. No, it's called leaving the economy the fuck alone. I will end with this. I want you guys to do a little bit of homework, okay? A little bit of investigation. The only time... I mean, this was reported by the Financial Times. The only time Belgium had an economic increase in recent history was when its government shut down. So when its government was unable to legislate, Belgium actually rose economically. Like, what else do you want to discuss? There's nothing more to say. Let me know what you guys think. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.